the angel of death who killed 12 patients in 1 month. In the sterile, quiet halls of a Florida nursing home, a place that's supposed to be a sanctuary, a dark secret was unfolding. These are the places we entrust with our most vulnerable, the elderly, the infirm, the parents and grandparents who raised us. Families in St. Petersburg, Florida believed their loved ones were safe inside the North Horizon nursing home, a place promising peace in their final years. But in the fall of 1984, that peace was shattered. The hallways that should have echoed with quiet care became a hunting ground. In a terrifyingly short span, a dozen patients would die under the watch of just one nurse. They weren't dying from old age or the illnesses that brought them there. They were being murdered. And the killer wasn't some intruder in the night. It was one of their own, a night shift supervisor whose hands were meant to heal, not harm. How did a trusted caregiver become an angel of death? This is the story of Bobbie Sue Terrell and the reign of terror she unleashed on the night shift. Part 1. The Making of a Monster. To understand how a place of healing turned into a house of horrors, we have to look at the woman at the center of it all. Bobbie Sue Terrell, born Bobbie Sue Robinson in 1952, didn't start her life as a monster. Raised in the small town of Woodlawn, Illinois, her childhood was marked by tragedy. She grew up with 7 siblings, but her home was shadowed by illness. 4 of her brothers had muscular dystrophy, a disease that would eventually claim 2 of them. This constant early exposure to sickness and loss may have planted a grim seed that would one day bloom in the most terrifying way. Perhaps seeking a path of purpose shaped by her family's medical struggles, she pursued a career in nursing, earning her degree in 1976 and marrying a man named Danny Dudley. On the surface, her life looked like it was settling down, but underneath, it was all starting to fracture. Bobbie Sue was deeply distressed by her inability to have biological children. The couple eventually adopted a son, but this didn't bring the peace she might have been hoping for. Instead, it became the catalyst for her first major unraveling. Her young son was hospitalized for a drug overdose, and in the chaos that followed, her husband accused her of a horrific act, feeding the child her own prescribed tranquilizers. Whether the accusation was true or not, it destroyed her life. The marriage ended, and in March of 1980, a judge declared her an unfit parent and stripped her of custody. This series of devastating personal failures sent Bobbie Sue into a spiral. Her physical and mental health collapsed. She was hospitalized multiple times and spent over a year in a state mental hospital after she was diagnosed with schizophrenia. This is a critical part of her story. Before she was a killer, she was a patient herself, deeply tangled in the same medical system she would later weaponize. Following her release, despite this deeply troubled history, Bobbie Sue was able to return to nursing, but her past followed her. At one facility in Illinois, she was fired for her mental problems after bizarre incidents of self-harm, and her nursing license was eventually suspended there. She drifted from job to job until July 1984, when she moved to St. Petersburg, Florida. There, after a brief marriage to a man named Ron Terrell, she found a new job. On October 2, 1984, Bobbie Sue Terrell was hired as the night supervisor at the North Horizon nursing home. She had a new home, a new title, and a position of authority. And in the vulnerable, sleeping residents of the night shift, she found her perfect victims. Part 2. The killing begins. The night shift in a nursing home is built on a foundation of absolute trust. It's a time of quiet supervision, of making sure the frail and elderly rest safely. When Bobbie Sue Terrell took over the overnight hours at North Horizon, that trust became a fatal vulnerability. In November 1984, a wave of death swept through the halls, concentrated entirely on her watch. It started subtly. On November 14th, 97-year-old Aggie Marsh died. Given her age, nobody suspected a thing. It was a sad but not unexpected part of life at a nursing home. But just 2 days later, 85-year-old Lethe McKnight also passed away during the night. 2 deaths in 2 days was strange, but not impossible. Then the pattern accelerated. On November 18th, Mary Ray Carter, 79, died. 4 days later, on November 22nd, it was 85-year-old Stella Bradham. By now, there was a real sense of unease among the staff. 4 deaths in just over a week, all elderly women, all during the night shift supervised by the same new nurse. Whispers started to spread. What was going on at North Horizon? While her colleagues grew anxious, Bobbie Sue was putting on a show. Court records later revealed that she would become hysterical after the deaths, breaking down in tears and crying that she couldn't believe another patient had died. At the time, it might have looked like the reaction of a compassionate, overwhelmed nurse. In hindsight, it was a calculated performance, a mask to hide the monster underneath. As the body count climbed, Terrell's behavior grew even more erratic. She made frantic calls claiming a killer was loose in the nursing home and even engaged in acts of self-mutilation to create chaos and throw any possible suspicion off herself. The string of deaths peaked in late November, when 5 patients died in a single 24-hour period. The facility was now in a full-blown crisis. An internal review was unavoidable. But the real breakthrough, the mistake that would unravel her deadly spree, came from a patient who wasn't supposed to survive. Anna Larson was 94 years old. One night, Terrell injected her with a dose of insulin, her apparent chemical weapon of choice. But something went wrong. Anna Larson didn't die.
She became critically ill and was rushed to a hospital. She survived the attempt on her life, though she later passed away from unrelated causes in January 1985. Larson's survival was Bobbie Sue Terrell's undoing. The sudden, severe hypoglycemic shock in a non-diabetic patient was a massive red flag that couldn't be explained away by old age. It was a clear clinical sign of foul play. The epidemic of death at North Horizon suddenly had a potential cause, and the investigation had a focus. The deaths stopped the moment Bobbie Sue Terrell left her job at the nursing home. The timing wasn't a coincidence. The hunting season was over, but the hunt for the hunter was just beginning. Part 3. The Unmasking. With Anna Larson's survival providing a clear medical clue, the fears at North Horizon finally sparked a formal investigation. Detectives zeroed in on the chilling facts. A dozen patients had died in a tight cluster, all during the overnight hours. And a single common denominator linked every single death: the shift supervisor, Bobbie Sue Terrell. In January of 1985, investigators took the grim but necessary step of getting exhumation orders for 9 of the deceased patients. One by one, the bodies of those who were supposed to be resting in peace were brought into the cold light of a medical examiner's lab. The autopsies soon confirmed the investigators' darkest fears. This wasn't a series of natural deaths. The bodies told a silent story of betrayal. Some, like Aggie Marsh and Stella Bradham, showed signs of strangulation, a brutal hands-on method of murder. Others, like Lethe McKnight and Mary Carter, had their deaths officially declared homicides by insulin injection. Insulin, a substance meant to save lives, had been turned into a weapon. Because it breaks down quickly in the body, many autopsies were inconclusive, but the pattern was undeniable. Police now knew they were dealing with a serial killer who used multiple methods, from the intimate violence of strangulation to the cold, clinical precision of a lethal dose. With autopsies confirming multiple homicides, the investigation focused squarely on Bobbie Sue Terrell. In March of 1986, police moved in to arrest her. But the most damning evidence wasn't what they found on her. It was what she'd hidden in her former residence. Tucked under her mattress, investigators found what sealed her fate: a 5-page account of the patient's deaths. It wasn't a confession, but something far more chilling. On these pages, Terrell had meticulously listed her victims by name and noted the exact time they died. A doctor who had known her back in Illinois later recalled her strange habit of writing excessively detailed, almost artistic descriptions of patient deaths, calling it a fascination with death. This document was the ultimate expression of that fascination, a macabre trophy of her kills that she kept close. This discovery was the nail in her coffin.
It moved the case beyond circumstantial evidence and provided a direct, tangible link between Terrell and her victims. It was a window into her mind, showing a cold, methodical documentation of her crimes. Armed with autopsy reports, witness statements, and her own handwritten notes, the state of Florida prepared its case. On April 10, 1986, Bobbie Sue Terrell was indicted and held without bond on 4 counts of first-degree murder and the attempted murder of Anna Larson. The mask had been ripped away. The hysterical, caring nurse was gone, and in her place stood a cold, calculating serial killer. Part 4. The Angel of Death Profile. The stage was set for a blockbuster trial, but it never happened. After a series of delays for legal maneuvers and psychiatric tests, the case came to an abrupt end on February 23, 1988. Bobbie Sue Terrell struck a deal. In exchange for avoiding a trial and a potential death sentence, she pleaded guilty to reduced charges of second-degree murder in 4 deaths and to the attempted murder of Anna Larson. There were a couple of reasons for the plea deal. First, Terrell's extensive and documented history of severe mental illness, including her schizophrenia diagnosis and time in a mental hospital, would have made for a complicated trial. Second, many of the potential witnesses, the other residents of North Horizon, were elderly and frail, which posed a challenge for the prosecution. Witnesses at her plea hearing noted a stunning change. The woman who had put on such dramatic, hysterical performances after each death now stood before the judge and showed no emotion at all. The facade was gone. She was sentenced to a total of 65 years in prison. With the legal case closed, the question remained: why? Why would a nurse, a caregiver, turn into a serial killer? To answer that, we have to look at the psychological profile of the Angel of Death. This term refers to a specific type of serial killer who works as a caregiver and murders the vulnerable people in their charge. These killers are often driven by a profound need for power and control. For someone like Bobbie Sue Terrell, whose personal life was a string of failures, divorce, losing her child, mental breakdowns, the nursing home was a world she could command completely. Over her helpless patients, she held the ultimate power, the power of life and death. Her actions also align with theories about a psychological disorder known as Munchausen syndrome by proxy. This is a condition where a person fabricates or causes illness in someone under their care to get attention and praise for their supposed heroic efforts to save them. Terrell's pattern fits this disturbingly well. She created the medical emergencies and then cast herself as the star of the drama, the distraught but dedicated nurse. Her hysterical crying and frantic claims of a killer on the loose weren't just a cover. They were a way to make herself the center of a crisis she secretly controlled. Criminologists have noted that healthcare killers often crave attention, have a history of disciplinary problems, and share a morbid fascination with the mechanics of death, all of which were present in Bobbie Sue Terrell's history. Her detailed notes on her victims' final moments were a classic example of this obsession. Ultimately, she was a deeply broken person whose unresolved trauma and severe mental illness created a psychological tinderbox. The power and access she had as a night supervisor provided the spark. The case of Bobbie Sue Terrell is a chilling reminder of one of our greatest fears, the ultimate betrayal of trust. A caregiver's role is sacred, built on a promise to protect and comfort. Terrell twisted that promise into a license to kill, turning a place of sanctuary into her private graveyard. Her conviction and 65-year prison sentence ensured she would never harm another helpless person.
She died in prison in 2007, closing the final chapter on her life. But the legacy of her crimes lives on. Her case exposed terrifying vulnerabilities within institutional care. It highlighted the critical need for stricter oversight, better systems for tracking employee histories, and a greater awareness of the warning signs of healthcare professionals who kill. The story of the North Horizon Nursing Home is a tragic lesson, written in the blood of innocent victims, about the catastrophic consequences that unfold when a protector becomes a predator. It forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes, the monster isn't hiding in the shadows, but wearing a uniform and a trusted smile. Thanks for joining us for this story. The psychology of caregivers who turn into killers is a deeply disturbing topic, but it's an important one to understand. If you found this case as compelling as we did, make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into true crime. And let us know in the comments, what case should we cover next?